I am Pooh. Wherever I am, there's always Pooh. There's always Pooh in me. Whatever I do, he wants to do. Where are you going today? Says Pooh. Well, that's very odd, 'cause I want to. Let's go together, says Pooh. Says he. Let's go together, says Pooh. What's twice 11? I said to Pooh. Twice what? Said Pooh to me. I think it ought to be 22. Just what I think myself, said Pooh. It wasn't an easy sum to do, but that what it is, said Pooh. And he, that's what it is, said Pooh. Let's look for dragons, I said to Pooh. Yes, let's, said Pooh to me. We crossed the river and found a few. Yes, those are dragons, all right, said Pooh. As soon as I saw their brakes, I knew. That's what they are, said Pooh. And he, that's what they are, said Pooh. Let's frighten the dragons, I said to Pooh. That's right, said Pooh to me. I'm not afraid, said Pooh to me. And I held his paw and I shouted, shoo, silly old dragons, and on off they flew. I wasn't afraid, said Pooh, and he, I'm never afraid with you. So wherever I am, there's always Pooh. There's always Pooh in me. Oh, what would I do? I said to Pooh, if it wasn't for you. And Pooh said, true. It isn't much fun for one but two can stick together, says Pooh. Says he, that's how it is, says Pooh. Yes, indeed. Little boy kneels at the foot of the bed, droops on the little hands, little gold head. Hush, hush, whisper who dares. Christopher Robin is saying his prayers. God bless Mummy. I know that's right. Wasn't it fun in the bath tonight? The cold's so cold and the hot so hot. Oh, God bless Daddy. I quite forgot. If I open my fingers a little more, I can see Nanny's dressing gown on the door. It's a beautiful blue, but it hasn't a hood. Oh, God bless Nanny and make her good. Mine has a hood, and I lie in the bed and pull the hood right over my head, and I shut my eyes, and I curl up small, and nobody knows that I'm there at all. Oh, thank God for a lovely day. And what was the other I had to say? I said, bless Daddy. So what can it be? Oh, now I remember, God bless me. A little boy kneels at the foot of his bed, droops on the little hands like gold head. Hush, hush, whisper who dares. Christopher Robin is saying his prayers. Uh, all the way down the stairs is a stair where I sit. There isn't any other stair quite like it. I'm not at the bottom, I'm not at the top. So this is the stair where I always stop. Halfway up the stairs isn't up and it isn't down. It isn't the nursery. It isn't in town. And all sorts of funny thoughts run round my head. It isn't really anywhere. It's somewhere else instead. Uh, Ernest was an elephant, a great big fellow. Leonard was a lion with a 6 foot tail, and George was a goat, and his beard was yellow, and James was a very small snail. Leonard had a stall, and a great big, strong one. Ernest had a manger, and its walls were thick. George found a pen, but I think it was the wrong one, and James sat it down on the brick. Ernest started trumpeting and cracked his manger. Leonard started roaring and shivered his tail stall. James gave a huffle of a snail in danger, and nobody heard him at all. Ernest started trumpeting and raised such a rumpus. Leonard started roaring and trying to kick. James went on a journey with the ghost's new compass, and he reached the end of his brick. Ernest was an elephant and very well intentioned. Leonard was a lion with a brave new tail. George was a goat, as I think I have mentioned, but James was only a snail. Oh, what a prevail! I found a little beetle, so that beetle was his name, and I called him Alexander, and he answered just the same. I put him in a matchbox, and I kept him all the day, and Nenny let the beetle out. Yes, Nanny let the beetle out. She went and let my beetle out, and the beetle ran away. She said she didn't mean it, and I never said she did. And she said she wanted matches, and she just took off the lid. She said that she was sorry, but it's difficult to catch an excited sort of beetle you've mistaken for a match. She said that she was sorry, and I really mustn't mind, as there's lots and lots of beetles which she's certain we could find if we looked about the garden for the holes where beetles hid, and we'd get another matchbox and write beetle on the lid, as went to all the places which a beetle might near, and we might made the sort of noises which a beetle likes to hear, and I saw a kind of something, and I gave a sort of shout, a beetle house, and Alexander Beetle coming now. If it was Alexander Beetle, I'm as certain as can be. And he had a sort of look as if he thought it must be me, and he had a sort of look as if he thought it ought to say, I'm very, very sorry that I tried to run away, and Nanny's very sorry too for you know what she did, and she's writing Alexander very blackly on the lid. So Nan and me are friends because it's difficult to catch an excited Alexander you've mistaken for a match. Christopher Robin had weasels and sneezels. They bundled him into his bed. They gave him what goes with a cold in the nose, and some more for a cold in the head. They wondered if weasels could turn into measles, if sneezels would turn into mumps. They examined his chest for a rash, and the rest of his body for swelling and lumps. They sent for some doctors, with sneezels and weasels, to tell them what ought to be done. All sorts of conditions of famous physicians came hurrying around at a run. They all made note of the state of his throat. They asked if he suffered from thirst. They asked if the measles came after the weasels, or if first sneezle came first. A bear, however hard he tries, grows tubby without exercise. Our teddy bear is short and fat, which is not to be wondered at. He gets what exercise he can by falling off the ottoman, but generally seems to lack the energy to clamber back. Now, tubbiness is just the thing which gets a fellow wondering, and Teddy worried lots about the fact that he was rather stout. He thought, if only I were thin. But how does anyone begin? He thought, it really isn't fair to grudge one exercise and air. For many weeks he pressed in vain his nose against the window pane, and envy those who walked about reducing their unwanted stout, and none of the people he could see is quite as fat as me. Then, with a still more moving sigh, I mean, as fat as, he said, as fat as my now Teddy, as was only right, slept in the ottoman at night, and with him crowded in as well more animals than I can tell. Not only these, but books and things such as kind relation brings, old tales of once upon a time, and history retold in a rhyme.